Good evening and welcome to this regular meeting of the Council of the Municipality of North Perth. Our meeting date is Monday, April 15th, 2024. I'm Mayor Todd Kasenberg and I'll call this meeting to order. I ask the clerk to note our starting time for the minutes as 7 p.m. A warm welcome is extended to councillors, staff, delegations, observers. We have a big audience tonight who will participate in this meeting, regardless of whether being physically in attendance in the council chamber in Listowel or being connected through web technologies. We begin tonight's meeting with the playing of O Canada. Those in chambers as able are invited to stand. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe peoples. We wish to recognize the long history of Indigenous peoples in Canada and show our respect to them today. We recognize their stewardship of this land. May we all live with respect on this land and in peace and friendship. Before we get too far, a big shout out, congratulations to our Listowel Cyclones, the Cherry Cup champions for the current season. I see some friends from Stratford in the audience. So sorry, not. Tonight's meeting is being streamed live on the Municipality of North Perth YouTube channel and will be available there after this meeting as an archived video. To those viewing this meeting via the YouTube channel, a warm welcome to you. To those present in the gallery today by attending a public meeting of the Council, you are consenting to your image, voice, and comments being recorded. Anyone who is invited to speak will be recorded and their voice, image, and comments will form part of the live stream. The chair and or the clerk have the discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of live streaming. Such direction will only be given in exceptional circumstances when deemed relevant. Circumstances may include instances where the content of debate is considered misleading, defamatory, or potentially inappropriate to be published. Attendees are advised that they may be subject to legal action if their actions result in inappropriate and or unacceptable behavior and or comments. Thank you. At this time, I invite your decorum over the course of the coming meeting. It's a large group. It need not be a rowdy group. I don't have any regrets tonight. You can see that we're all in our chairs. Councillors, good to have you with us. Let's move to item 5 of our agenda pertaining to pecuniary interest. For the benefit of those unfamiliar with our council practices, provincial legislation requires councillors with a potential pecuniary or financial interest in any item at the council table to declare this interest and to remove her or himself from discussions and voting on the item. In accordance with recommended protocol at this time, I invite all councillors with a perceived pecuniary interest, including those who have declared in writing, to verbally advise the chair in public session and to submit documentation to this effect in writing to the clerk. Councillors are further reminded that should a potential conflict arise during the meeting, they may so declare and act at any point in the meeting. All right. This is a busy night for declarations, I think. Let's turn first to Councillor Andreessen. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Kasenberg, council, staff, and our gallery. This evening, I'll be declaring pecuniary interest on item regarding the delegation of 8.3 United Housing. Also regarding the closed session, item 15 around United Housing, and any potential reporting out after closed session on United Housing. I currently volunteer with the Perth Huron United Way as the chair of the North Perth Community Committee for United Way. And subsequently, I feel that this is a potential pecuniary interest. Subsequently, I won't be participating in the confirmatory bylaw, which is item 17.1. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Andreessen. I know Councillor Richardson will put you up next, if you don't mind.
Thank you. And through you, Mayor Kasenberg, and welcome to everyone in attendance this evening. Unfortunately, I have to declare for item 8.2 for the housing needs for community living North Perth, as my stepdaughter is employed with community living, and thusly I will be also declaring on item 17.1 the confirmatory bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Richardson. Deputy Mayor Kellum, I think you're next.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Kasenberg, and through you, and welcome everyone in the chamber this evening. I will declare pecuniary interest on agenda line 15, item 1 in the closed session regarding United Housing as discussed with the clerk prior, and subsequently 17.1, the confirmatory bylaw.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Kellum. Anyone else with a declaration before I make mine? All right, we're all in this together. So I'm going to declare this evening a declaration of pecuniary interest in items 8.3, which pertains to United Housing. As well, there's an item in the closed session pertaining to United Housing, which I will also declare on publicly. And I also have, or will absent myself and declare a conflict on our confirmatory bylaw 17.1. I do work a part-time employment position with United Way Perth Huron, and that is my reason for doing so. All right, anyone else? So we're going to have some musical chairs tonight, colleagues. There'll be some swapping in and out of who's in the chair at various points in the meeting. Let me just talk about that role. My role as chair prompts me to manage the flow of proceedings tonight and largely in accord with our agenda. We usually do have some participating by web conference. The clerk has advised me at least one tonight. Should they wish to speak, they may draw the attention of the clerk to using the conferencing technologies text chat function. If technical difficulties arise in their efforts, we will certainly advise them and attempt to send some help. Let us now focus on the people's business. Part of that focus is achieved when those in chamber silence and put away their phones. All right, regarding item 6 on our agenda, I have a resolution for consideration to approve the agenda as follows, that the agenda for tonight's meeting be approved. Can I call for a mover? Councillor Johnston gives me the nod. Councillor Nordham as a seconder. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. Let's move forward then to item 7 on our agenda, the so-called consent agenda. Consent items are placed on our agenda because they're believed to be non-contentious, yet they may warrant council's recognition and or action. Grouping them expedites our business. However, any councillor wishing to extract an item or items from the consent agenda for discussion, debate, and individual action may do so. There are 13 items on our consent agenda tonight, including the minutes of our last regular council meeting. Councillors, anything to extract here or any corrections desired to the minutes? Councillor Nordham.
Good evening, and thank you to you, Mayor Todd. I would like to extract item 7.12, the Township of Adelaide Metcalfe.
Thank you. Anyone else with extractions? Councillor Rothwell.
Thank you, Mayor Todd, members of council, staff, and public. I'd like to have item 7.11 pulled for discussion. It's Loyalist Township resolution regarding request to the province to amend blue box regulation for ineligible sources, please.
Okay, thank you. Anyone further? Councillor Duncan, let me get your microphone. There we go.
I'd like to extract 7.5, please.
Okay. All right, let's see, are there any others? I thought this one might be a more talkative one. I had a hunch. All right, let's proceed then. I think I'll do it in the order that I heard about it. So let's start with Councillor Nurdum, if you don't mind. It is our usual and customary practice so that those who are in attendance understand that when items are extracted, we'll discuss. If there's action we want, we'll take it, and then we'll consider the entire consent agenda following. Councillor Nordum.
Thanks to you, Mayor Todd. So the Township of Adelaide Metcalfe is requesting that the province, through the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs, consider increasing the maximum annual tile loan limit from $50,000 to $100,000. I believe that this is a good thing to support because now the current rate is $50,000, and with inflation, it's good to increase it every once in a while. So, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Nordum. So I consider moved a resolution of support for the, let me get this right, the Township of Adelaide Metcalfe, I've been there, and their letter pertaining to drain limits. Can I call for a second here? Councillor Richardson, thank you. Any discussion or debate on this one? Councillor Johnston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks, Mark, for bringing this up. And I agree wholeheartedly with it. But I actually believe it doesn't go far enough because I think the whole program needs redone because, and maybe Chris or Ashton can help me here, but I think we don't get many of these anymore because the interest rate is not favorable. Most banks will definitely beat the interest rate. So I think the interest rate, like, I think the whole program should be redone and, you know, potentially, I agree with upping the limit. 50,000 only gets you done about 20 acres and it's gone. But I think the interest rate, we need to push them to look at the whole program.
Okay, thank you. CAO Snell, I saw you and Treasurer Armani conferring there for a moment. It looks like you're the one who's going to speak. Go ahead.
Certainly during the low interest rates times, that was correct. I think we might see more applications now because I believe the interest rate is 6%. So in our current interest time, it's probably in line, but you're certainly correct. When interest rates were really low, we weren't seeing any applications.
All right. Do you think that the amount that they've proposed in their letter is adequate to the task? Moving from 50 to 100, is that an adequate move? All right, so I'm seeing nods from those at the table. All right, anyone else wishing to comment or ask questions about this matter? We have this duly moved and seconded. At this point, clerks, you ready for the vote? All right, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Let's turn to item 7.11 from Loyalist Township. Councillor Rothwell, that's you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Todd and Council. As your Blue Water Recycling Association representative last week, I informed you regarding the transfer responsibility for producers, two producers for our Blue Box program, or the so that started April 1st. This issue that's been brought forward by Loyalist Township is an ongoing discussion point between the producers and the province and the municipalities, ensuring that any and all recycling is picked up as it currently is, including items which are under discussion points here. And this is from the Loyalist Township resolution and letter on page 40 of our agenda. Ineligible sources, our producers are not responsible for including businesses, places of worship, daycares, campgrounds, public-facing and internal areas of municipally owned buildings, commercial farms, and not-for-profit organizations such as shelters and food banks. The intent of this program, producer responsibility, is that any and all recycling coming from current sources, including all of those listed, as well as multi-unit residential dwellings would continue to be picked up. This is an ongoing issue of concern by all of the member municipalities of Blue Water Recycling Association, as well as the province of Ontario. So I would like to encourage this council to support the resolution from Loyalist Township to request the province to amend Ontario Regulation 391/21. Thank you.
All right, I'll consider that resolution. Usual suspects for the distribution list, I assume. Yeah, thank you. Can I call for a seconder? Councillor Nordum, thank you. We'll second that. Discussion or debate? All right, I'm not seeing any. Let's have the vote.
In favor of Mayor Kiesenberg.
Councillor Anstedt records a manual in favor vote. And that is carried. Thank you, Councillor Rothwell. I wholeheartedly endorse that too. I think that's an interesting miss on their part in terms of the regulation. All right, item 7.5. This is Councillor Duncan. Go ahead, Councillor Duncan.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. I'd just like to bring this to council and the public's attention, the Forest Health Study Report from the Mainland Conservation, and it shows the health of the forests in our watershed are not very good at this point. And I'd just like everyone to be aware of all the struggle and the stresses our forests are being put under currently, and recognize Mainland Conservation for the great work they've did in putting this study together.
Thank you, Councillor Duncan. I'll add my voice to this, actually. I, too, am quite concerned about the fact that there's a substantial proportion of the forest that was surveyed is dead wood, and that's not a good news story, right? Here we are, we're trying to encourage planting of trees in our communities. Perth County has made a significant contribution towards that in its first year of its stewardship program, and that was fully subscribed in the first 3 months, the first window of opportunity, more than subscribed. So there's a lot of desire to plant trees, but we need existing mature trees to actually do their jobs. And we're seeing a significant loss of that. So it is of grave concern, I think, and warrants all of us to pay some attention in the near future to initiatives that could improve forest health. Councillor Duncan, is the Conservation Authority speaking about any local initiatives that are about preserving the health of trees or dealing with the carbon release that could come from the death of all these trees?
I think staff's looking further into that currently, and hopes to bring some feedback to the Conservation Authority Board in the future.
Great, thank you. Anyone else want to deal with anything else on the consent agenda, including that item, if they wish to speak to it at this point before we consider the resolution? Councillor Rothwell, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Todd, and through you to Councillor Duncan. I believe the forest management plans, they are covered under the stewardship program. Is that correct? I just wanted to know the extent, if you happen to know that. I believe there is an amount which goes towards that forest management plan under the stewardship program from the county, which I think is open another round or something.
That I can't answer 100% right now. Not accurate anyways.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm pretty sure, Councillor Rothwell, that the entire budget for 2024 for the county's tree planting program has been subscribed at this point. It's already spoken for. So it's been enormously successful. Now, I don't know if I'm talking about the same thing that you are, so I'm just advising that I'm pretty confident on that particular fact. Okay,
just further, I understood that there was another intake happening in 2024, like the last intake was... and has been dealt with in the first flight, but perhaps there's more, and perhaps our CAO has more details. Thank you.
CAO Snell.
So I can't confirm the forest management plans were an eligible project under the stewardship plan. I understand one of them was applied for, so that's great, but certainly like to see more in the future. And there would have been a second round for the stewardship program, but all the funds were allocated in the first round, so we'll have to wait for the 2025 budget year for the county.
or a budget amendment at the council, at the Perth County Council, yeah. Okay, did you want to say anything more, Councillor Duncan, on
I
this?
think we're waiting to hear back from the Stewardship Committee at County Council with a report as to the successes of that program.
Perhaps a little bit of a delay until we see performance, and then the county can make choices at that point. All right, anyone else with items on the consent agenda before we consider the resolution? I'm not actually seeing the resolution in my book. I'm not sure where it is, but I'll pull it from eScribe here. All right, the resolution as follows, that consent items 7.1 to 7.13, including the DWQMS Management Review and the DWQMS Infrastructure Review Report, be received for information, and the minutes of the April 8th, 2024 regular council meeting be adopted. Councillor Andreessen, I saw your hand wave a little bit. Councillor Anstett will be our seconder. Thank you. Any discussion or debate? I'm wrong. The resolution just looked different to me. It's here. All right, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you very much. Let's move forward then to item 8 on our agenda. Our agenda indicates that we'll entertain 4 delegations. I must absent myself from the chair for one of them. Let's remind delegations that in accordance with this council's procedural bylaw, a total time of 10 minutes per delegation is permitted, and that includes both presentation time and providing an opportunity for councillors to ask questions. Delegation is to present on the topic declared on the submitted request for delegation forms, and deviations from the topic are generally not acceptable to the chair or this council. As always, we expect respect and courtesy, which inherently includes not using names of those who have not consented to such use. As item 8.1, we are joined by Anne Daru, a resident and ratepayer who wishes to address council about the Listowel Bocce Club. Welcome, Ms. Daru, to this council meeting. The floor is yours. Please come to the podium, yes. We make you be a public speaker. That's how it goes.
Hi, I'm Anne Daru, and I am here on behalf of the Listowel Bocce Ball Court Club. It's been going on for many, many years. I've spoken to a couple of people at the town about it on different occasions, and I'm told, one time I was told it wasn't in the budget, another time I was told it would affect surrounding houses. Baseball diamonds, tennis courts, and bocce are all run by the town, and we're the only ones without lights. So at this time, we are asking for 1 or 2 lights, depending on placement for the courts. We would only require lights 2 evenings a week for about 2 hours when the time changes and it starts getting dark earlier. We have about 20 players. Some of them have low vision and have trouble seeing the ball when the time changes and it starts getting dark early in the evening. So consequently, we lose these players because they can't see. So what we were wondering was if there was some sort of a switch put into the shed that we could turn on and off when we needed it. Electricity would be minimal usage. There wouldn't be, it's only when we need 2 hours a night if we could turn it on and off when we finish using it. So again, it's only needed when the time changes and it starts getting dark earlier. We usually try to continue into October, weather dependent, of course. That's about it. So we are requesting lights that we've asked for many times over the years. I don't know why. Like I say, tennis courts, baseball diamonds all get the lights, but for some reason or other we don't. And for the amount of time we need them, it's not going to cost very much for the electricity. So we appreciate your consideration and thank you very much.
Okay, Thank you very much, Ms. Giroux. Just stay there for a moment. Let me turn to my colleagues. Do you have any questions? Anything you'd like to ask Ms. Giroux at this point with regards to her presentation and request of council? Okay, I'm not seeing any indication of that, so thank you.
So what does that mean? Like,
I'm going to ask council
nobody's,
what their will is at this point.
oh,
That's the next question.
okay.
So, colleagues, what is the will of council here? Councillor Duncan.
I guess I'd like to request a staff report within regards to lighting for the bocce courts, and we can move forward from there.
Okay, that's a reasonable resolution. Moved by Councillor Duncan, seconded by Councillor Blazek. Thank you. Any discussion or debate on this? I'm not seeing any. Let's have a vote.
Oh, there we go.
And that is carried. Thank you. What that means is that council has directed staff now to prepare a report explaining how we would do this, whether there are financial implications and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be considered at a future meeting of council.
Okay. So why do tennis courts and
I'm
baseball
not sure.
why do they have the lights?
I'm not sure I can answer that, and this is probably not the place, but I will assure, and I think it's fair to say, Mr. Newell, that you'll reach out to the club and have a discussion with them about this request in preparing that report. Is that fair? So he's agreeing that he'll be in touch with you, and you can work together on the report that comes back to council.
Okay.
Yeah,
Like,
thank you for
I say
coming.
it's only for a couple of months.
Yeah,
so
thank you for coming tonight.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. As item 8.2, we are joined by Jennifer Croft, Executive Director of Community Living North Perth, who's indicated an intention to speak about housing needs in the community. Welcome, Ms. Croft, to the council meeting. The floor is yours. And the clerk's note should, for the minutes, we should identify that Councillor Richardson has left the chamber. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, and guests, and thank you for giving us the chance to come speak to you this evening. My name is Jennifer Croft. I am the Executive Director of Community Living North Perth, and I have with me Tracy Wareham, who is our Community Engagement Lead, and Susan Underwood, who is our Project Lead. And we're here to talk to you tonight about a project that is a very exciting undertaking for Community Living North Perth, and one that we hope you agree aligns closely with the strategic priorities for the municipality of North Perth. As I am sure you are all very well aware, housing is a significant challenge right now, especially for individuals who need housing that is affordable within their means and that can meet their needs, both for accessibility and access to their community. The people who are supported by Community Living North Perth are making ends meet within their Ontario Disability Support payments, and that includes an allowance for rent that is $556 per month. With an average monthly market rent in North Perth that exceeds $1,000 per month, you can see that people with developmental disabilities are completely priced out of living in North Perth. We believe that a strong community is one that is diverse and inclusive of people of all skills and abilities. And with that in mind, as you hear more about our Bring Us Home project tonight, I'm sure you will agree that it is part of our community solution for accessible, affordable, and supportive housing in our community. Community Living North Perth has been part of the communities of Listowel and surrounding area for over 60 years. We work with adults with developmental disabilities to help them be fully participating members of their own community, and we work with our community to help it be fully inclusive of people with developmental disabilities. Some of the ways we do this include helping people with developmental disabilities to find work and jobs at local employers, helping people to participate in community activities and events, and you may see a group of people we support enthusiastically cheering the Listowel Cyclones every Friday at the arena. We help people who live in their own apartments, to maintain their independence through help with activities such as budgeting, meal planning, grocery shopping, and banking. And we help people who need 24/7 supports with personal care, medications, meals, and recreational activities. Sadly, not everyone with a developmental disability who needs help is able to get it. Our funding has not kept up with the pace of inflation over the years. In 30 years, we've only received less than 4% increase in our base funding from the government, while inflation has increased almost 57%. Across the province of Ontario, over 40,000 people with developmental disabilities and their families are waiting for supports to help them live full and meaningful lives. In North Perth alone, we currently support approximately 50 people, and there are over 50 people still waiting for supports. Our Bring Us Home project is about ensuring everyone with a developmental disability who wants to be part of our community can be. There are people with developmental disabilities who want to call North Perth home, but are not able to do that within the current housing situation. We have youth who are transitioning out of the child welfare system and into the adult system who consider North Perth their home, but are currently having to live in other communities because there's no place for them to live. We also have youth who have grown up in North Perth their whole lives, and now that they have finished high school, would like to experience the same milestones as their peers, moving out of their parents' home and into their own home. Some adults who have lived their whole lives with their parents or siblings, and the siblings and parents are now aging and are no longer able to take care of them. Sadly, many 40-year-old people with developmental disabilities are being forced to live in hospital or long-term care because there are no housing options out there that can support them to live on their own. We have a growing population of people who are experiencing dual diagnoses with developmental disabilities and mental health diagnoses. These individuals do not fit in many other types of supportive housing models because their developmental disability may impact their ability to follow the rules or logic in the same way. They're often ending up homeless or transient because they aren't able to get the support they need to meet their unique needs. As part of the developmental services sector, Community Living North Perth relies heavily on government funding to run our programs and services. And as you can see, the vast majority of our funding comes from the Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services. Like many other government-funded services, such as hospitals, we're not funded for bigger ticket items, such as buildings, housings, vehicles, or equipment. Most people think about the hospital or hospice when it comes to making donations in the community, and we're working to make sure that community living comes to the top of their mind as well when people think about where their donations can make a meaningful difference. And truly a community that supports its most vulnerable is a community that works better for everyone, from children to seniors and everyone in between. So what does Bring Us Home? It's a starting point to address the supportive housing needs of people with developmental disabilities in our community. Community Living North Perth has been operating housing for over 30 years. We currently have 4 homes that can house up to 16 individuals and have a new house opening this year that will house 4 more individuals. These houses provide 24/7 supports to people in a group living situation for people who need to have staff with them at all times. This new project is intended to meet the needs of a growing clientele, individuals who need access to staff 24 hours a day, but don't necessarily need the physical and eyes-on support that our current housing provides. More people are now coming into our supports who are not able to live with roommates or who need their own space, but still need access to supports to keep them safe and to help them with their daily decision-making and skill building, and to help them reach their goals, whether it's employment, education, or community involvement. Many of these individuals are not able to live in a mixed income setting. Their behaviors often do not allow them to mingle well with other residents in a building, and they are not often successful if housed in a mixed income apartment building. Some of these individuals are learning how to be adults for the first time, and learning those skills at the same time as managing a household requires extra support and skill building. Our new building will have 8 to 10 full apartments, each with its own bedroom, bathroom, kitchen, and living space, which will give each of the residents a chance to live independently. We'll also have shared areas dedicated to cooking, sharing meals, recreation, and community gatherings, and we are working with other local providers to look at shared opportunities for skill building and abilities to help individuals grow in their independence. There will be round-the-clock staffing available to help residents with their daily activities, support them in their independence and skills, and keep everyone in the building safe and secure. Although there are many more people needing support than the expected 8 to 10 individuals, it's a great starting point to meet the most immediate needs and gives us something to build from to continue meeting the growing needs in the future. So if you can close your eyes for a moment or gaze off into the distance, picture a young adult with developmental disabilities who has recently turned 18 and has aged out of the foster care system. They may have had to move away from the area, away from their friends and family, to get the foster support that they needed, and all they want now is to move back to Listowel to reconnect with the life and community they are grounded to. I'd like to introduce you to Noah, not his real name. He has both developmental disabilities and mental health challenges. He needs stability and independence in an environment that supports him to learn how to live on his own and make good decisions. This project is not just about building a house, it's about helping young adults like Noah take that next major life step of learning to live on his own in a situation that meets his unique needs. And it's about giving him the opportunity to be part of a community where he feels he belongs. I'd also like to introduce you to Owen. Owen is another young man living with developmental disabilities and who values his independence and the ability to participate in those major life milestones of moving into adulthood. With support from Community Living North Perth, Owen was able to get a driver's license and develop the skills he needed to take on 2 part-time jobs. With our Bring Us Home project, Owen will be able to move out of his parents' home and live on his own with the supports he needs to help him be successful in his own apartment. Next, I'd like you to meet Margaret. Margaret has been the primary support for her daughter, Vicky, for the past 40 years. As Margaret herself is needing more and more help to stay in her own home, she's wondering about what will happen to Vicky when she's no longer able to care for her. Without Margaret's support, the first time in her life at the age of 40, Vicky will be living on her own. She'll need help learning how to manage a household, cook her meals, and manage her finances. With our Bring Us Home project, our supportive housing model will give Vicky the chance to learn how to live independently while giving her the 24 hours of support she needs to keep her safe. And finally, I'd like you to meet Robert. Robert has been living with his older sister who is sick and will no longer be able to give Robert the supports he needs. At 55, Robert is ready to live in a place of his own, but has no idea how. He will also be losing the only family and informal supports that he has. Robert needs a place that will help him build new informal supports and will help him develop the skills he needs to manage his own place. Our Bring Us Home project is just about that, giving people the support they need to live in their own place while also giving them the supports they need to be safe. Right now, people with developmental disabilities who need supportive housing can wait up to 20 years for that house to become available. Imagine a youth being told they have nowhere to go when they want to take that next major milestone. Or imagine being an aging parent or sibling who is told there's nowhere for your adult loved one to live once you are no longer able to take care of them. Bring Us Home is a chance to change that story. It's a chance to provide stable housing that is affordable within the range of a person's Ontario disability support payments. And it's a chance for people to live in a community of their own choosing where they feel like they belong and have the supports to keep them secure. It's a chance for people to live their best and fullest lives, to live a life of meaning and purpose, to achieve their dreams of being a full member of their community. And it's a chance for people to have a home and live with dignity. We continue to explore other successful models that have allowed people the chance to live in their own space with the supports they need to be successful. In Elmira, the Elmira and District Community Living built their Field of Dreams with 7 to 8 units each building. And it follows the Good Neighbor model, where 2 community members are given a discount on rent for an apartment in the unit in exchange for providing added support for the individuals living in that building. Kenora Association for Community Living has been increasing their supportive housing program through a Housing First model and working with their community on harm reduction approaches to help people stay safe within their own ability to make choices. In Kingston, Calgary, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Home for Heroes Foundation has focused on a model of housing stability with self-contained housing and a shared resource center to support homeless veterans. And in the GTA area, the developer Mahogany Management has been partnering with developmental service providers and other health and social service organizations to provide stable and supportive housing for individuals with various mental, physical, and intellectual disabilities. Housing's on everyone's minds these days. We have increased homelessness, lack of affordability for younger people to break into the housing market, and difficulty maintaining a robust workforce without affordable housing for workers to live in. Our Bring Us Home project is one opportunity to provide secure housing for a group of individuals who have the ability to live on their own with the right supports. Without appropriate housing, many people we support would end up inappropriately in alternative level of care beds, in the hospital, or in long-term care beds. Some of the young adults that aren't appropriately housed are ending up transient and homeless. Parents of young adults are having to cut back their own work hours in order to provide the needed supports for their loved ones. Without the right supports, many of the people we support would end up involved in the mental health and addictions programs or in the justice system. We believe that Bring Us Home is part of the solution and that aligns with the municipality's housing priorities. We are asking for your support to make this project a reality. First and foremost, we're asking that you help with the land required for the new build. We're asking Council to consider donating land or providing land at a low cost to help us get started with our build. We're also asking for regulatory support in terms of waiving any fees for development, property taxes, etc., and providing support from your planning department to make this a reality. We're hoping Council will endorse our project within the community and help in educating the community and neighbours about the value of supportive housing models. And finally, we're hoping that we can work closely with the municipality in seeking opportunities for government funding and grants and for building partnerships across the community. We are in a unique position of having the expertise and operating funds to run a supportive housing program, but not having the infrastructure available to run the program. This gives us sustainability once the house is built, and also gives us opportunities to leverage this build for the next round of housing needs. We're looking forward to working more closely with the municipality and are happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we've gone a little long on the delegation time, so we'll probably omit questions if we can at this point. But I'd entertain will of council on this in terms of how to move forward. Anyone want to make a suggestion about how we move forward with the requests that were made? Not at this hour. Councillor Rothwell.
Thanks, Mayor Todd. Thanks very much for your presentation. It's very exciting opportunity that we have within our municipality. I'm wondering if we could request staff to have discussions with North Perth Community Living, talking about specifically land needs required and potential location for that that they would like to see within our municipality, and report back to us in terms of any other supports that we've talked about here tonight.
Okay, consider that a motion. Clerk's table gently has that. All right. Seconded by Councillor Blazek. Thank you. Any discussion or debate on this? All right, seeing none, let's have a vote if the clerks are ready. And that is unanimously carried. Thank you for your presentation tonight. Staff will be in touch with you to have discussions and to move this forward. Thank you. All right, my turn to step out of the chair here. Deputy Mayor Callum is going to take on the role next. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, and please note that Mayor Kaysenberg and Councillor Andreessen have declared pecuniary interest on this. For item 8.3 this evening, we have a delegation regarding United Housing, and I believe that Kathy Vasilevskis and Ryan Erb will be presenting. Welcome to North Perth, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, councillors, and gallery staff. We're looking forward to sharing a little bit about an update on United Housing in your region. Just before I do that, wanted to make mention our great thanks from the United Way to the many community members here in North Perth who helped us to have a very successful fundraising campaign this year, raising well over $2.36 million for the region, and particularly well over $200,000 raised in North Perth. And we're excited with those dollars to enact a new project supporting one of the programs that you're all well aware of. Your own community development worker will be partially supported by United Way fundraising dollars. So just letting you know that many good things are happening at the United Way, but we want to focus on our United Housing agenda tonight. So Kathy is here to share. Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us. I want to talk a little bit about United Housing, and it was launched in November 2023, but it goes back probably 2.5 years on the work that the United Way started to do, where they could see whether they could expand their community development work into the area of affordable housing. And just to provide a little bit of context, I'm just going to provide quick context. Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation, their definition of affordability is that people spend less than 30% of their pre-tax income on adequate shelter. And that's, roughly 30% is what the definition is for a lot of different definitions. And to note, shelter does not include just the cost of housing, but utilities and property taxes. And the concept of core housing need applies to both renters and owners alike. So one of the challenges we have is both, it's an income side and a price side. Housing prices and rental and rents have gone up significantly over the last number of years, whereas incomes have not kept pace. And so the number of people that are finding themselves in core housing need is increasing over time. So who can afford to buy a house? When we did the analysis and looked at a median household income and looked at different household types, really only couples with children were able to actually afford to buy a benchmark or median home price in Perth and Huron. And that tells you that there are a lot of people who simply are priced out of the market for trying to find housing. And really the couple with children is you have two incomes and you also have a child tax benefit. So they are largely able to buy houses because of with policy and program decisions that have been made. When you look at incomes and rentals, if you look at a number of we look at Ontario Works, ODSP, minimum wage, living wage for the area, and a number of different job types in the region, and you can see where, if you say the percent of income to rent for a one-bedroom, if you were to go out right now and see if you could find something to rent, really even down to a construction worker making a really pretty good income is still in core housing need. So there are a lot of people who are paying more for their shelter than they can afford. And not only that, we also have so you have an income pressure, and you also then have a supply issue in that the number of households that are being formed in Ontario are not matching the number of houses that are being built. And so what we find is, numbers coming out of CMHC where we need 5.4 million housing units by 2030. And at the pace that we are building housing right now, we're going to be short 3.5 million homes. And so the housing crisis that we see now is going to get worse unless we step up and start building more housing. So I think most people have seen the housing spectrum, and I will say that we just had a really great presentation just now about supportive housing and the importance of supportive housing and providing housing for, I would say, a vulnerable section of our population. But this housing pressure is really across the entire spectrum, from people who are finding themselves homeless to people requiring non-market housing and even in the market housing sector. And where United Housing falls in is in that sort of non-market rent-supported social housing, community housing, and even into the private market rental. So United Housing, we spent 2 years doing a feasibility study, a strategic plan, and now we're into phase 2 of our development, which is looking at building some housing. We have a vision that by 2030, United Housing is an established and sustainable non-profit housing developer, and by 2050, everyone in Perth Huron lives in housing that is suitable and affordable to their needs. We have project development principles that it's not for profit. All of our projects will be financially viable. We will do collaborations across pretty much anyone who would like to participate in building housing. We will collaborate when our goals and our principles align. Affordability, it's all rental housing. It'll be mixed use or mixed income housing, so it'll have it'll be rental housing across an income band. It'll be community building, so the things that we build, we will like to co-locate with other community assets where possible. We'll be as environmentally friendly as is possible, and the goal of this is to also help reduce homelessness and working with the consolidated service managers to help them reduce homelessness as well by using some of this housing. So we're a developer of housing, operator of housing, property management, and property acquisition. Those are all activities that we're currently undertaking. Our partnership models goes all the way across, working with municipalities, small businesses, not-for-profits, churches and institutional agencies, and even existing housing providers. So I want to take a little bit of time now to talk about the projects that we have in North Perth. I think most people are aware of the library project. And this is a long-term project, and it's a legacy building project. And this is one of those where it's that community building. We want to take housing, 41 housing units, and co-locate it with an access center that provides community and social services from 17 different agencies, and also provide a new library for the municipality. Just so that you know that the activities that are going on right now, we did get CMHC seed funding and FCM Green Municipal funding so that we're doing work. And I liken this to, this is the work that we're going to do to be shovel ready, so that when upper levels of government come to the table with some money and grants, we are ready. And I think that's a large part of communities that have been successful in getting these funds are usually there and ready to go. We've done our pre-consultation with municipal staff. We know the studies that we need to do. There's currently a heritage impact assessment being done by Plus VG. We have environmental site assessments being done for the record of site condition, and we have grid engineering doing that work. And next up, we'll probably be doing the phase 2 study and the noise study. We're also going to be updating the concept drawings for the site in collaboration with both the library and the potential tenants, so that we have concept plans that are ready for any funding that comes along. So the second project that we have is a smaller in scale project where we have a 10-unit renovation of a downtown property that is potentially going to happen. And this is a really great project because it uses underutilized space in a downtown area. It can provide workforce housing, and one of the biggest challenges in the area for employers is finding employees, and they're saying that housing availability, housing affordability, and transportation are 3 of the top reasons why employers can't attract and retain employees. And those are those are the top 3 reasons that young people as employees are saying why they don't want to locate in the area. So we feel that this project, smaller in scale, has very few, it has very few planning requirements, unlike the previous project, and is a quick win for us. And so how do we get there? United Housing will be looking for donations. We will have a community bond campaign. We're looking for land donations or discounts on land. We'll be looking for grants and loans, discounted services or products, and rebates. And so we'll put all of that together to help reduce the cost or the capital stack for our projects. And so I want to thank you for letting me sort of update you a little bit on what we are doing, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Perfect, thank you. Council, we have a couple minutes left. Does anyone have a question you would like to ask at this point? Councillor Rothwell?
Thanks very much, Dr. Mayor. Thanks very much for your presentation. Very excited about both of the projects you did talk about, but in particular the 10-unit downtown redevelopment of the underutilized space. This is exactly what the Mayor's Task Force dealing with affordable housing was talking about back 3 years ago. And hopefully if this project does go ahead, there perhaps will be other landlords that would take note of this. as well as perhaps spur a whole redevelopment sector within our construction trades and so on, so that in fact for those that can get to those upper floors of those underutilized spaces, it should help us to rejuvenate our downtown, which is vibrant in its own sense, but to having people living there, I think would be even better. So thanks very much. I look forward to hearing more details. Thank you.
I was going to add, we do have a RED grant that we're hoping to get that would actually look at how scalable and transferable this is across the region. And we'll be reaching out to BIAs, to real estate agents, to municipal councils to see how much potential there is to expand this kind of in downtown core. And having had a sneak peek at the Perth County's draft official plan, a lot of the increased residential intensification could happen in these areas. So I think it's really exciting.
Thank you. Great.
Perfect, thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation, Kathy. Ryan, for making the trip for North Perth, and we look forward to working with you in the near future.
Thank you.
Please invite Mayor Kaysenberg and Councillor Andreessen back in.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Callum. Just as Leanne, Councillor Andreessen and I are getting into a good conversation, you called us back. Anyway, thank you for that. Let's turn our attentions now. We have one last delegation. Pierre Chauvin of MHBC Planning wishes to speak pertaining to agenda item 9.1.1. So I believe he is remote tonight, and the clerk will bring him in at this point to have him speak to that item. This is about the parkland dedication proposal for Listowel Gardens development.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Can you hear me?
We can. Thank you, Mr. Chauvin. Welcome.
Good evening. Sorry I couldn't be there this evening, but I am here to speak to the report that's in your council package regarding the Listowel Gardens application. I believe Nazar Mawani is also on the call or online as well in case there are any specific questions. But I'm here in support of the staff recommendation before you, which is really to enter into an agreement to establish effectively what is known in the industry as a POP, a public park on private lands. And this isn't new. This is not a new approach to dealing with parkland dedication. It's certainly perhaps maybe new in Listowel, or perhaps not. I'm not familiar with any other one, but I may be corrected. But this has certainly been applied in other major urban centers to try to establish parkland, or particularly when you're dealing with higher densities on private lands that would be open to the public as well. As you know, in this particular subdivision where these lands are located, there is a public park just within walking distance on Twomley. But also within the proposed development, there's an internal park space that we've designed and extensively planned with a pickleball court, outdoor amenity space, as well as an indoor amenity space, but there's an extensive amount of outdoor amenity space. And as you can see in the analysis done by staff, that does equate to a pretty significant amount of land that's somewhat similar to what you would get otherwise in terms of the parkland dedication requirement. In order to ensure that this could qualify as parkland, obviously it should be open to the public in addition to being available to the future tenants of this rental development. We are suggesting that an agreement be put in place as contemplated by the staff report. This will certainly help, as you know, and you've heard, this development is proposed for rental, and there will be affordable housing units available in this development. Uh, as you may or may not know, rental housing is very sensitive to all kinds of costs out in the industry. Those include parkland dedication fees, development charges, even building permit fees. And unfortunately, in the industry, a lot of these costs, in order to recover them, they get passed on to future tenants or owners, and it kind of runs contrary to what we're trying to achieve here in this housing crisis of trying to provide attainable housing, and in this case, even affordable housing. These types of quote unquote incentives, or in this case, I think this wouldn't be an incentive, but just a different way of doing business, I suppose, with respect to parkland dedication, allows for some creative solutions to help facilitate the financing and development of this much needed housing development. So our client is we're very near completing the site plan. As you know, this has gone through many iterations or discussions before council in terms of the other planning instruments that were previously approved. We're in the final strokes now on the site plan. I think we've fulfilled all our commitments that we promised to council in the previous public meetings, and we're moving to construction. We're hoping to start breaking ground this summer, and this will certainly help in that regard. So we respectfully request that council support the staff recommendation, and those are my comments this evening, sir, and happy to answer any questions that you or council may have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chauvin. Let's turn to my colleagues on council. Any questions for Mr. Chauvin pertaining to an item that does lie ahead a little bit further on our agenda, but we have his availability, so let's ask. Councillor Johnston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks for the presentation, Pierre. So my question just is the courts or the pickleball court or whatever, it wouldn't be fenced in and locked. It would be completely open, that people could get at it at all times of the day and night type thing.
Yeah, I believe I don't have the landscape through you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have the landscape plan in front of me. I think that the court will likely be fenced, but it may not be locked to ensure that public can access it. And I think just in terms of balls and things flying around, you want it to be fenced. And so just for public safety. So it'll be fenced, and the locking mechanism, if there is a lock, then it certainly will be made available or open during daylight hours. I think we haven't really got to that level of detail, but the intention is that it's meant to be open to the public, and so it will be.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any warm fuzzies for bocce by any chance?
Pickleball is the fastest growing sport in Canada right now, so.
We had a delegation earlier about bocce, so I'm just testing my assumptions, that's all. All right. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Rothwell.
Thank you, Mayor Todd. Thanks for the presentation, Pierre. And this is through you as well as perhaps the staff in the later report. But will there be signage or information to the members of the public? In fact, if council agrees to this, so that they know that they are able to use the facilities?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, that's a great question. And I think if it hasn't been suggested in the staff report, I think it should be signed that way so that people are aware. I think that is a good idea, Councillor Rothwell.
Thank you very much. And further, this is where the staff may, if they haven't had conversation, the proposed play equipment and so on, would that be up to the municipality standards as opposed to other standards that the developer may have? My understanding is that the municipality has to meet a certain standard in terms of our equipment, and it has to be inspected and so on from time to time. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, typically, yes, that is with these POPs, that's typically the requirement is that if their structures are built to municipal standards so that the amenity space is similar to other public amenity space in the community.
Thank you.
Councillor Andreessen.
Thank you.
If someone is asking a question, I can't hear.
I'll try it again. There we go. Thank you through you, Mayor Kasenberg. I just have a question about the ongoing maintenance and upkeep of the playground and the park area. Would this be the responsibility of a partnership type of both municipality and the developer, or is this going to be taken care of by just municipality? I just have questions about the ongoing upkeep.
Yeah, again, through you, Mr. Mayor, great question. Typically, it's maintained by the property owner.
Okay.
So that's the real benefit of these types of POPs, is that it's not only the land is provided, but also the maintenance is provided. Just typically, if it's whether it's a condo or in this case it'll be rental, the property manager, like they manage the rest of the property and grass cutting, etc., will maintain the amenity space at their cost. It's really simply that we have to provide a space that's open to the public and meets your standards.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else with questions at this point? Comments? All right, thank you, Mr. Chauvin. As you know, it's on our agenda a little bit later to actually consider the report from the planning department. So at that point, we will consider further this matter. All right, thank you. With that, then I will note that our delegation period is over tonight, and we're going to turn our attention to a public meeting. For the purpose of executing a public meeting under the Planning Act, I'll use my discretion as head of council to announce a recess lasting the duration of the public meeting. In said public meeting, council will consider a proposed zoning bylaw amendment for property located in the Elma ward of North Perth. All right, welcome to those attending the public meeting pursuant to the Planning Act for a proposed amendment to the North Perth zoning bylaw. This is a statutory public meeting to deal with zoning bylaw amendment number Z02-2024 by Carlos Ramirez, related to property lot 3 and 4, Plan 441, Elma Ward, in the municipality of North Perth, municipally known as 188 Erskine Street, Moncton, Ontario. Correspondence, reports, and comments received regarding this application will be considered by council. Those in attendance remotely wishing to make comments concerning this application will be given the opportunity to do so. Anyone wishing to appeal council's decision in this matter must make verbal submissions during this public meeting or have made a written submission already to council. Those wishing to receive notice of the decision regarding this application must notify the clerk via email or telephone, giving their mailing address and telephone number. At this time, I'm going to call for a summary of this application. This will be offered by Nathan Garland, who is a planner with the County of Perth. Mr. Garland, welcome again.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg and members of North Perth Council. I do have a short presentation on the application, and I'm happy to address or answer any questions at the end of the presentation. So for your reference, the application is Zoning Bylaw Amendment Z02-2024. The owners have since switched properties, so the new owner, Carlos Ramirez, has become the owner as of March 29, but the previous owner and applicant was the Fellowship Haven Amish Mennonite Church. Carlos Ramirez is now the new owner as of March 29th. So there was an agreement of sale purchase done, so that's why the notices went out. The applicant is Carlos Ramirez, the agent's the same. The location is lots 3 and 4, Plan 441, Elma Ward, the municipality of North Perth, and the municipal address is 188 Erskine Street in Moncton. So just the report photo as well as a couple photos of the subject property. So the report photo just outlines the subject property. Isn't it elongated property? So it does have quite a bit more frontage than depth. So some future challenges potentially if they want to put a garage there or something to that effect, that might come in through a minor variance or something along that line. Nothing contemplated at this time. So just internal renovations of the existing church. So no external changes of the existing building, mostly internal work being proposed. Just a couple pictures. So the one picture is of the existing building that's on the subject property. As I said, not much changing to happening with that. The neighbors won't notice much of a difference. However, there will be a small parking lot or a parking space put adjacent to the sidewalk going in there that I'll outline on the next photo. And then just the open space there to the east, that's where the existing septic system is proposed and then potentially replacement going. The outline of the report photo are the subject lands in a survey. So that red area that I boxed out, that's the proposed parking space to be allocated. So that's off-street parking, which is required as part of the zoning. So the subject lot is undersized as well too. So the current property is 882 square meters. The zoning bylaw in the HVR zone requires 1,850 square meters. So we are asking for a special zone to recognize the undersized lot. The applicant has provided a hydrogeological study, so that looks at the existing water and impacts to potentially the septic system and then existing wells in the area, just to ensure that it's properly sized and not going to impact any wells or the land itself. That did support a tertiary treatment system going in there, so that's one of the confining factors. So just my summary, the hydrogeological report was provided by a qualified professional. They did look at the soil conditions as well as associated wells. They did support a small bed system or a tertiary treatment system going in there. There will be a parking space provided. Staff considered the application consistent with the official plan and zoning bylaws, save and except for the property size and depth. And then the existing structure is to remain with some modifications on the internal just to make it a house as opposed to a church. So it is my recommendation that the municipality of North Perth receives the planning report dated April 15th, 2024, titled Zoning Bylaw Amendment Number Z02, 2024, affecting lands described as Lot 3 and 4, Plan 441 Elma Ward in the municipality of North Perth, 188 Erskine Street, and that the municipality of North Perth acknowledge that a statutory public meeting pursuant to Section 34 of the Planning Act with respect to Zoning Bylaw Amendment Z02, 2024 was held, and that the municipality of North Perth approves zoning bylaw amendment Z02, 2024, affecting lands described as Lot 3 and 4, Plan 441, Elma Ward in the municipality of North Perth, 188 Erskine Street, to rezone the lands from institutional zone IN to special hamlet village residential zone HVR-12. I'm happy to address or answer any questions.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Garland. I'm going to turn to both you and the clerk to give me information regarding notice of this public meeting.
Yes, the notice of public meeting was issued as per the requirements of the Planning Act, which went out, I'm looking to Sarah to confirm, I believe it was in the report, but.
Notices were mailed out on March 22nd, 2024. They were posted on the municipal website and the subject property on the same day as well.
Okay, thank you. At this point, I'd like to know if you've received any correspondence, comments, or other reports that you haven't mentioned that should be brought forward for this file. Mr. Garland first.
Mayor and the worship. No comments or any kind of concerns have been received from the public or staff or agencies.
Okay, thank you. Just confirming with Clerk Carter, nothing at your end?
Nothing has been received on my end either.
All right, thank you. Okay, now is the opportunity to make comments for those who have joined us for that purpose. First, I'll call for those who are in favor of this application. Other than the applicant, are we aware of any who have expressed intention for that purpose? Clerk Carter.
I am not aware of any.
Thank you. Anyone in the audience wishing to avail themselves who've not notified us of that intention prior to this? All right. Are there any opposed who intend to speak to council? This is your opportunity to do so in this public meeting. Clerk Carter, are we aware of any of those?
I am not aware of any.
Thank you. Anyone wishing to avail themselves of that opportunity? I'm not seeing hands waving at me. This is the opportunity for the applicant or the applicant's agent to speak should they feel so inclined. Mr. Ramirez, you're here. You're welcome to speak if you wish to. It's not a mandatory part of this, but you're welcome to.
I just want to
come to the microphone, please.
I just want to give thank you and give me the opportunity to be here, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Just please, I'll be waiting for the vote. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, colleagues, questions or comments on this application for the public meeting? Councillor Andreessen, I saw your hands first. Go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Kasenberg. I have a question for Nathan Garland. Typically with churches, especially those that could be older, there may have been grave sites around the church. Are we aware of any kind of record or evidence of graves at all?
Through the mayor, we're not aware of anything to that effect, so nothing has come up in the scans or the review historically. It is a newer church, I'll say it that way, comparatively wise, but nothing has come up. Even a record of site conditions is no longer required. So,
thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to ask questions or avail themselves of opinions or staff expertise? Councillor Rothwell.
Thanks very much, Mayor Todd. Thanks very much, Nathan, for the report. You did mention the record of site condition. That's, again, a specific requirement going from an institutional use to residential. Is that correct?
through the workshop, that legislation has since changed, so that's no longer required for a change specifically for a church. So there are some institutional uses that still apply to that, but specifically a place of worship is now exempt from that record of site condition requirement.
That's a good news story, frankly. It's been long discussed that it was unnecessary requirement, so I'm glad to hear that change. Now, secondly, I noticed in the report that there was proposed schedules and so on, and I see the draft bylaws later on in our agenda, but there is a Schedule A as well. Is that correct?
Through the mayor, there should be a Schedule A in there later on, maybe.
I just didn't see one, but just as long as there is, I'm quite happy. Thank you.
Can you confirm, Clerk Carter, that the documentation that Councillor Rothwell is asking about was in the public agenda package?
That's good. I'm glad to see it's there. It's
All
just
right.
not on mine. So.
Thank you. Technology is wondrous, isn't it?
All goes to it.
Indeed. Okay. Anyone else on council with questions or comments for the public meeting? All right. Seeing none, I can advise as follows. Notice of the decision of council will be given in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. Council's decision is subject to appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. And with that, we can adjourn this public meeting. I'll bang the gavel again because we are ending our recess and restoring ourselves to regular meeting of council. At this time, we do have the last item in particular to consider as follows. We have a resolution. You heard it from the planner, but I'll read it again. The Council of the Municipality of North Perth receives a planning report dated April 15th, 2024, entitled Zoning Bylaw Amendment Number Z-02-2024, affecting lands described as lots 3 and 4, Plan 441, Elma Ward in the municipality of North Perth, 188 Erskine Street. And that North Perth Council acknowledges that a statutory public meeting pursuant to Section 34 of the Planning Act with respect to the zoning bylaw amendment Z-02-2024 was held, and that North Perth Council approves zoning bylaw amendment Z-02-2024 affecting lands described as lot 3 and 4, Plan 441, Elma Ward, in the municipality of North Perth, 188 Erskine Street, to rezone the lands from institutional zone IN to special hamlet village residential HVR 12. It still feels like I'm reading a phone book. Can I call for a mover? Councillor Richardson, thank you. Move seconded by Councillor Nordin. Any discussion or debate on this matter? Seeing none, let's have the vote. And that is unanimously carried. Thank you, colleagues, and Mr. Garland. Congratulations, Mr. Ramirez. We will move forward in our meeting then. Let's now turn our attention to agenda item number 9, reports from departments and key staff. We have one item tonight from the Development and Protective Services Department. We've heard about it in our delegations. As item 9.1.1, staff put forward a report pertaining to a request from proponent Kanalamika and Blueview Development related to potential adjustments and requirements for the Listowel Gardens development in Elma Ward to parkland dedication and affordable housing agreements. County of Perth planner Nathan Garland, who works on North Perth files, is with us to present an overview of this action. Welcome, Mr. Garland, again.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg, members of council again. I think I drew the short straw on this application, so because it fell under the Planning Act, that's why staff delegated me, so I'm here to present on this application, but happy to do so. I don't have a presentation on this, but I will ask the clerk just to bring up the site plan application, and then maybe I'll go through that a little bit with you. I know there's just some discussion items and some things, and Mr. Chauvin has done a nice job of outlining the proposed work as well, too. So these applications, they are new to North Perth and Perth County, but they're not new across Ontario. There are certain applications where you have these POPs or these publicly accessible private parks. Toronto is a very specific example where you have a number of, let's say, plazas, gateways. They do have some parks, the Lakeshore area as well, a number of areas there. Brampton also has some POP areas as well too, publicly accessible private parks. So staff have outlined just a general reference, and maybe I'll ask the clerk just to flip back and forth between the two slides. So we are directing council just to consider the parkland bylaw. So we're looking at about, it's not quite 5% because there is a commercial element to this property as well too. So I just want to highlight that for council as well too. So this park would be accessible to those commercial patrons as well too. If their kids are there or something like that, they would be accessible to pop over for that. For council's consideration, it is roughly the size of the pickleball court and the playground equipment. That's about what the park space that works out to be when we do the calculations and we look at the what's required as per the bylaw. Typically, we wouldn't ask for a park of that size. We would look more like cash in lieu, but in this case, it seemed to fit within the criteria and it seemed to kind of outline and come back to staff. So that's approximately that gold, that yellowish area that outlines the park space required as per the bylaw. So we've just tried to highlight that roughly for council. As I mentioned, the pickleball court, the playground equipment, a lot of the locking access agreement, making sure that they're up to municipal standards, those would be worked out through the agreement with park staff. So we haven't gotten that far. Right now, we're just looking for some direction on this application as far as considering this for a future amendment. And then subsequently, based on the review of the other park spaces where they have this public-private consideration, it would come back to council again for a bylaw implementation. So this does come back to council again to kind of get more finer points, and then we work out through that plan for council's consideration. So I will read out my recommendation as per I usually do. If it's accept or skip that, that's fine. I'm happy to address or answer any questions at this time. I didn't want to make it too formal. So.
Oh, you, me, both of us reading it out, it just doesn't seem great. All right, questions or first comments on this matter? We've heard about it a little bit earlier. Mr. Chauvin, I assume, is still around. Councillor Rothwell.
Thank you, Mayor Todd, and thanks, Nathan and Pierre, for the previous presentation as well. I just want to make sure that the comments that were earlier in the delegation are, in fact, incorporated into the document. So whether that's confirming hours of operation, signage, and so on, that they, as well as the status, pardon me, not the status, the extents of the type of playground equipment and so on meets the municipal standards. So just as long as those items that we've talked about earlier are going to be incorporated into this document, I don't have any issues or concern. But because it is new to North Perth, I just want to make sure that council's satisfied that this, if it's going to be one of the first of others, that we're off on the right foot. Thank you.
Through the Mayor, response to the question from Councillor Rothwell. So I think that we've noted the points down, so I've made note of those comments back in there. As I said, those would come back to council again for the confirmatory bylaw and consideration. So we kind of highlight those things just to make sure that council is re-engaged and re-brought up to information for those specific criteria, and then anything else that may come into consideration as well too. So
thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else with questions or first comments on this one? All right, I have a resolution for our consideration as follows: that the council, the Council of the Municipality of North Perth receives a report entitled "Listowel Gardens for Information," and that the Municipality of North Perth enters into an agreement and processes a subsequent bylaw for the establishment of an easement or similar effect for up to the required parkland area as per North Perth Bylaw 103-2007 of active park space on the property to allow for a privately owned, publicly accessible park and amenity space to the satisfaction of North Perth, and further that the Municipality of North Perth enters into a site plan agreement whereby the applicant provides up to 15% of the dwelling units at affordable or attainable rates. I call for mover, Councillor Anstett. Thank you. Councillor Blazek will be our seconder. Discussion or debate? Not seeing any. Let's have a vote. And that is carried. Thank you very much. Mr. Garland, thank you for your services tonight. Let's turn to item 9.2, reports from Strategic Initiatives Department. As item 9.2.1, the Council has before it a report from our Manager of Strategic Initiatives, Jessica McLean, pertaining to a request made during a delegation at our last Council meeting related to establishment of a volunteer group dedicating itself to organizing celebrations for Listowel 150. I'm not going to try to say the S word again. Let's have Ms. McLean catch us up on possible next steps. Welcome, Ms. McLean.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg, and good evening, Council. So this report is in response to a request from Council following the Listowel 150th delegation that occurred at the last Council meeting. As Council will recall, staff previously brought forward a report on the creation of a community-driven volunteer committee for the purpose of planning events to celebrate Listowel's 150th anniversary next year. Council directed staff to advertise this opportunity and collect the names of individuals that were interested in participating. Advertisements were placed in the local newspaper and on the municipal social media accounts. As well, letters were sent to local service clubs and community groups. To date, 9 individuals have come forward to share their interest to participate. Following media coverage of that discussion at Council, a group of community members also began to meet to discuss initiating plans for a celebration. This group attended and had a delegation at the last Council meeting, and they requested that Council pass a motion appointing them as a committee of Council for the purpose of conducting North Perth's celebration of Listowel's 150th anniversary. A key reason noted by the delegation to become a committee of council was liability concerns and the ability to fall under the municipality's insurance coverage. The municipality's insurance broker was contacted for comment. It was advised that the group gets their own insurance for the event, as the municipality would then not be responsible for damages, potential costs to add additional policy coverage, or the deductible and administrative duties if an actual claim or issue was to occur. The insurance broker also advised that event liability policies are very minimal in cost and easy to obtain. Council could consider having the municipality assist the Listowel 150th group in arranging their own insurance and covering the upfront cost of the policy, which could be reimbursed by the group following the event utilizing event proceeds. In addition to municipal insurance, there are other implications noted in the report regarding appointing the group as a committee of council. Based on this, it is recommended that council does not appoint the Listowel 150th group as a committee of council. Staff have shared the municipality's list of interested volunteers with the group since the delegation, and we can send these volunteers an invitation to join the existing group. As noted in the report, there are several ways that the municipality can support the efforts of this group, such as promotion on the municipality's website and our social media accounts moving forward, and I can answer any questions council may have.
All right, thanks, Ms. McLean. Questions or first comments, colleagues? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Oh, there we are, Councillor Andreessen.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Kasenberg. In your report, Ms. McLean, I believe you recommended, or a possible recommendation, that insurance could be pursued through the municipality, correct?
Through you, Mayor Kasenberg, we could assist the group in arranging their insurance coverage.
So given that possible recommendation, I'm just wondering that, like in the following recommendations, that's not listed. I just wondered if that might be a possibility to have the municipality assist the group, the anniversary group, in seeking insurance.
Is there any risk to this? I mean, perhaps you or CEO Snell want to comment, but if we're involved in trying to help them procure insurance, and I'm assuming that's what you intend, are there risks that we should be aware of? CEO Snell, Ms. McLean?
I think the policy would be still in that group's name, so there wouldn't be necessarily any risk to the municipality. I think the risk when we discuss at the staff level was sort of precedent setting. We haven't done this for a lot of other groups, including a recent community that celebrated anniversary in North Perth. So in our recommendation, we're trying to be consistent with past practices. And certainly, even in talking to the ad hoc committee that came together, most of the high-risk events would likely be held at North Perth facilities and would include likely us still using our liquor license like most events run in North Perth. But certainly, if that's the wish of council, we can accommodate that request. It's really up to council's call, but staff are recommending not setting the precedent at this time.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else with questions or comments? Councillor Rothwell.
Thanks very much, Mayor Todd. Thanks very much for the report. I'm wondering, just to soften the response in terms of denying a request, in the report on page 94 of our agenda, page 2 of the report, we have 4 bullet points in terms of what recommended the municipality could support the group. May I suggest that it would be appropriate to put those 4 points in if council agrees, so that this volunteer committee understands is that the municipality specifically is here to support. I mean, it's in the report, so I just think it would be appropriate to say that in our resolution so that it doesn't get lost. Thank you.
Thank you. I think probably we can revise that to include that language, that instead of saying out, well, I guess we still need to say we're not going to let them, that's what this resolution says, right? We're not going to let them be a committee of council. We will further offer those supports to the volunteer group that coalesces for this purpose.
Yeah, so it's the 4 points, Mayor Todd. Promotional support, as was mentioned, on the social media accounts and website, acting as a flow-through applicant on potential grant funding, operating bars if the events are held at municipal facilities, as well as connecting volunteers and or community organizations with the group. So I think it's in the report. We did hear that, and I think it would be helpful. Thank you.
It looks like our assistant clerk, deputy clerk is working on that, so great. All right. Anyone else with questions or comments? I think my only reservation is that I want to see, I want to be assured, I suppose, that the 9 people who stepped forward and presented applications or expressions of interest actually do somehow attend the first meeting with the ad hoc committee, which was doing its own thing. I want to make sure that we don't lose that volunteer interest. And I'm not quite sure how we achieve that, but I still feel that perhaps the best way is for us, the municipal group, to call the first meeting and designate a space for that purpose and invite all those folks.
Yep, we could look into doing that, and we'll follow up with each individual that contacted us with their interest and let them know the plan going forward.
Okay. If my colleagues don't disagree with that premise, I think we want to leverage as much of the expression of interest as possible. All right. I don't know that requires inherently a resolution change. CAO Snell, did you think we need to add that to a resolution? That the municipal staff will convene the first official or a gathering of all those who have expressed interest? Maybe that's the way to put it.
I'm not sure it needs to be in the resolution, but
okay. We'll let it sit then. Councillor Blazek, I think I saw your hand up.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mayor Todd. One of the bullet points that Councillor Rothwell brought up says acting as the flow-through applicant on potential grant funding opportunities. Can you just maybe explain what that really means and what sort of implications there might be before we put that on a resolution, please?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. We're not aware of any grant opportunities currently, but in the past, the municipality has acted as that flow-through for community organizations that might not have been eligible, or they had to partner with a municipality for a grant. I can let the CAO provide any additional comments, but we have done it in the past.
So quite often organizations like even the Ontario Treatment Foundation do require a corporation or not for recognized not-for-profit to be the applicant, and then we can flow that money through to a less organized group.
Okay, anyone else with questions or comments before we consider the resolution? I may turn to the clerk's table actually to read the resolution into the record, given that we've amended this. Please.
That the Council of the Municipality of North Perth receives the report titled Listowel 150th Anniversary Delegation Report Request dated April 15th, 2024 as information, and that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth denies the request for the Listowel 150th group to be appointed as a committee of council. The municipality will support the group in the following ways: promotional support by utilizing North Perth's social media accounts and websites, acting as the flow-through applicant on potential grant funding opportunities, operating bars if the events are held at municipal facilities, connecting volunteers and/or community organizations with the group.
Thanks, Clerk Carter. Can I call for a mover? Councillor Duncan, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Blazek. Discussion or debate? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands raised at me, so let's have a vote. Clerk table, okay? All right. And that is carried. Thank you. Deputy Mayor Kellum.
Yes, through you, Mayor Kasenberg. I'm sure after the decision that was made tonight that someone will be reaching out and discussing the result. Okay. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, it's 8:36. This is the usual time for a bio break. So let's take that at this point. Come back here at 8:42. All right. $500 plus HST. We will hear from, well, we may not need to hear from anybody, actually. Mr. Couch, I think, is away. If there are questions, I see that his solid deputy is with us, so let's turn to council. Are there any questions or comments on this report before we consider it? All right, I have a resolution. You might be off scot-free there, Paul. I have a resolution as follows. The council, do you have questions? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, there's some concern about where we are in the meeting. Okay, so Deputy Mayor Callum is going to declare pecuniary interest in this item at this point in time. We'll wait for him to leave the room. Okay, as follows, the Council of the Municipality of North Perth awards tender NP-015-24T, line 88, supply and placement of granular materials to vendor Donnigan's Haulage 2010 Limited of Listowel, Ontario, in the amount of $324,500, excluding HST. Moved by Councillor Richardson, seconded by Councillor Duncan. Thank you. Any discussion or debate? Councillor Rothwell.
Thanks, Mayor Todd. Not to state the obvious, but I'm very thankful that we have one that has come forward. It's and also thankful they're a local supplier in many respects. But I'm concerned about going into the future if when we only have one tender that comes in and we don't have a whole lot of choice. But obviously, in the report, I mean, I think that's within what we're anticipating in terms of budget and so on. But it's I would have thought that we would have seen more interest in this tender. Thank you.
Indeed, thank you. Paul, you have any comment about that? Like, is it a rough market? Is there a lot of consolidation that's happened? Like, we didn't receive any bids, any guesses?
Yeah, 3 or 4 contractors did pick up, but I think it just came down to manpower and
capability,
truck availability.
Okay,
thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have this moved and seconded, correct? All right, any further discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have the vote. And that is carried. If you would draw Deputy Mayor Callum's attention to return to the room. Okay. No worries. Okay. We turn now to item 9.4, reports from the Facilities Department. In item 9.4.1, Council is invited to award a contract pursuant to a tender call for the construction of the Listowel Memorial Arena Park 59. The successful bidder, as vetted by staff and our landscape architecture consultant, is Horst Excavating of Moncton, Ontario, for a proposed contract amount of $250,000. Have I got this right? Oh, I got my numbers wrong. What's the amount, Mr. Newell?
The amount is $1,250,285.
Boy, was I going to discount them. Interesting. All right. Our Mr. Newell is with us at the podium at a Todd moment. Mr. Newell, please go ahead.
Thank you. So we've been working with the Memorial Arena Park project with Shift Landscaping, and we did implement a RFP process, which closed on Thursday, April 4th, with Horst Excavating Inc. as the preferred contractor. It was the lowest compliant bid and also had good performance standing with the municipality. So we're happy to make that award. The award amount includes the base price, which is the bid submission, as well as some provisional items and a 15% contingency amount for anything that may come unplanned. Some of the provisional items were not costly, represent about $29,000. It was a flagstone walkway, historic marker, some additional planting, and 2 lounger type chairs. And we were able to, because we came in under budget, we were able to add those provisional items in. The overall budget for this was $1.4 million. We're under that, and it is worth noting that the fundraising committee for MAP 59 has been doing exceptional work, and the community has really rallied behind the project. Speaking with Jerry, the chairperson today, he mentioned that they're at $730,000 in pledges and cash in hand. And that's before we've broken ground and people get excited to see about some of the work that we're doing. So we're in a very good spot financially, and it's going to be a really wonderful park when it's done. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Newell. First, salute to Jerry and team for the fundraising. Spectacular results, highly commendable, and we're very grateful. All right. Questions, first comments? I'm not seeing any, so let's consider the resolution then that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth awards request for tender NP-014-24T Listowel Memorial Arena Park 59 construction to vendor Horst Excavating Inc. of Moncton, Ontario, with the amount of up to $1,250,285.05. I love that, excluding HST. Moved by Councillor Richardson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Callum. Any discussion or debate? I know what I did with my numbers. I forgot to type a 1 in here. That's what happened. It's a nice discount, though. I don't think Horst would appreciate that. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is quickly and unanimously carried. Thank you for all the work that is being done by so many, and in fact, over many, many years. We're appreciative and want you to know that the community values what's happening here and is looking forward to it. And thank you so much.
Great, thank you.
All right, let's talk about the Carnegie Building next. In item 9.4.2, staff brings forward a request for council to approve renovations to the Carnegie Building of the Listowel branch of the North Perth Public Library. This approval is required given that the building is historically designated. Mr. Newell, you're going to give us a little explanation, right?
That's correct. Actually, similar to where my last presentation a couple of weeks ago, we've got a heritage designated building, and we don't have a heritage committee. So with any work that needs to be done with the facility, either externally or internally, it needs to get council approval. Council is aware that we were making some repairs to the Carnegie as part of the budget process. We had commented that we'd be doing some repairs there. It's necessary, the work that we're doing. It won't change the structural look of the building, other than internally the floor is sagging on the east side of the building, and we have taken precautions to jack the floor up and shore up the building, and then would be re-drywalling it, and so it will look the same as its original intent. It'll just be level. Is where we're going with that. So it was approved through the budget process that we would do the work, but for building purposes, we need to get approval from council to do work on a heritage designated facility.
Okay, any questions about this one? Councillor Andreessen.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Kiesenberg. I just have a question about how long you anticipate the repairs would take, and if that area obviously would be closed, I guess, for the public to use during the library, for usage with the library.
Yes, through you, Mayor. We have anticipate that it would be a couple of months. There's a jacking process that you can only move it up 1/4 of an inch per day so that it doesn't break other things in the library. The area in question is really nothing more than a storage space currently. But we are cognizant of the busy summer months with the programming that happens at the library, so we'll work around that either prior to the busy summer season, get the work done, or after that. So yes, we're aware of that, but it's not in a high traffic area.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else with questions or comments at this point? All right, let's consider the resolution as follows. The Council of the Municipality of North Perth approves the interior renovation of the historically designated property known as the Listowel Carnegie Library. Moved by Councillor Andreessen, seconded by Councillor Rothwell. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have the vote. And that is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Newell. Let's pony up to item 9.5, reports from the Corporate Services Department. As item 9.5.1, council is invited to consider and, if willing, adopt a new code of conduct for council boards and committees. As you can see, North Perth Clerk Sarah Carter is stepping up to the plate here. Ms. Carter, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg. Through you to members of council, I have proposed in front of you tonight a second draft of an updated code of conduct policy. Following the March 4th council meeting, the Governance Review Committee met with staff and have proposed the following changes. So throughout the entire document, we removed the use of advisory committee, updated it to committee, so that it includes all committees that either now or potentially in the future are created in North Perth. Section 5.2A, it was mentioned that the language indicates that committees have the authority to give staff direction, which isn't always the case. Working with the Governance Review Committee, the proposed change is only council as a whole has the authority to direct staff, approve budget, policy, committee processes, and other such matters unless specifically authorized through legislation or by council. No individual member shall attempt to exercise authority belonging to the whole of council, a local board, or a committee. The next issue that we addressed was a spelling and grammatical error in section 5.3. We've updated the wording to include shall. Gifts and benefits. There was quite a lengthy discussion at the Governance Review Committee on this one. So in the original draft that was presented to council, we didn't have a monetary value included in the gifts and benefits section. We've done quite a bit of research, and it varies a lot from municipality to municipality. Originally, at our initial meetings, the Governance Review Committee threw out the number of $150. That's what we ended up going back to and have included in this policy. So the wording that we've updated is so long as the gift or benefit does not exceed $150, or so long as the total value received from any one source does not exceed $150 in a calendar year, and so long as the gift or benefit does not include money. The next point that we clarified was language surrounding how the Integrity Commissioner's report will be received by council. So from the Ombudsman website, it specified that the Integrity Commissioner's report shall be considered by council or the local board in an open meeting unless the subject of discussion fits squarely within one of the exceptions to the open meeting rules as set out in the Municipal Act. So that language has been included. As well, we've included how the clerk will process the report when it's submitted. In addition to that, we have added comments in there about confidentiality throughout the process, both on behalf of the Integrity Commissioner as well as staff. And then we've included information that the complainant and the identity of the person who is subject of the complaint shall not be treated as confidential information. And if the Integrity Commissioner were to file a periodic report, they would do their best to maintain confidentiality through that process. In the penalty process, we've added revocation of appointment to the committee. So that would be in the case of a committee member violating the code of conduct. That's a possible remedial action. And then the final change that was recommended in March was in Schedule A, again, a spelling and grammatical error. We've updated the wording there to read within 90 days. And then another point to note, Section 4.5 was added in accordance with the Municipal Act, so not brought up during the March 4th meeting, but was important to add into the policy. So I am happy to answer any questions.
All right, colleagues, questions or first comments on this additional work by the Governance Committee and staff? I think the only thing that has caught me by surprise is the fact that the complainant in a process may not be given confidential status. And this is kind of a controversial one. I appreciate that. I think at the county, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe Councillor Duncan or Deputy Mayor Kellum can help me, they will be protected with confidential status. So this puts us out of sync with the county. Is there some explanation from the Integrity Commissioner around why this is being advised here when in a very near jurisdiction of which some of us belong, it's not that way?
So my understanding is that it is to advise them that it may not be confidential. To any extent possible, it's my understanding that the Integrity Commissioner would maintain confidentiality, but it could get to a point where that's no longer maintained.
Okay. CEO Snell, did you want to weigh in on that?
Certainly, I think the Integrity Commissioner has provided best practices, and I think technically, council cannot move into closed session unless it does meet one of the criteria of moving into closed session. If an Integrity Commissioner's report met one of the criteria under Section 239 of the Act, we could move into closed session, but if it does not meet one of the closed session exemptions, everything else should be an open session of council.
I'm not sure that was my point, though. My point is that historically, the identity of the complainant was withheld from the process, and there was great diligence, generally speaking, in maintaining the confidentiality of the complainant, probably for the sort of whistleblower effect and protections that you'd put in place for that. So this seems to suggest that we're walking away from that, which is not the case at the county, and I'm just sort of curious about the discrepancy.
Yeah, and I think it would come down to, as Clerk Carter said, we would try and maintain it, but there might be exceptions under freedom of information where we could not maintain the confidentiality.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Any other questions or comments on this one? Okay, seeing none, we have a resolution for the adoption of this as follows: that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth adopts the Code of Conduct Policy 03-2024 dated April 15th, 2024, and that the Code of Conduct Policy dated April 27th, 2015 is hereby rescinded. Moved by Councillor Johnston, thank you. Councillor Nordum will be our seconder here. Any further discussion or debate on this? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you, Clerk Carter. Let's move to item 9.5.2, also Clerk Carter. Subsequent to a request by this council at an earlier meeting, staff has brought forward a report about the corporation's recognition policy. In this report, staff have suggested we split what has been a long-standing policy into two policies and has attended to wording for both policies that largely remains consistent with historical experience. Ms. Carter, you want to give us that overview?
Yep. Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg, members of council. In response to a November 2023 resolution of council, staff have reviewed and updated the council recognition policy. The current policy, originally adopted in 1998, speaks to donations from council as well as recognition by council. In order to fully replace the 1998 policy, staff have drafted two separate policies. The first is a council recognition policy, and the second would be called the council directed donation policy. The draft council recognition policy was informed by research into existing policies in other Ontario municipalities, as well as by reviewing current best practices in North Perth. The draft policy specifies clearly when a letter of congratulations, certificate of recognition, and recognition ceremony will take place. The scope of the policy has been expanded to include language related to volunteer efforts, as well as cultural and academic achievements, in addition to the athletic achievements that we're used to recognizing. The council-directed donation policy incorporates provisions related to donations on behalf of council that were included in the 1998 policy. The policy was informed by current practices in North Perth and has been updated accordingly. Notable changes in this policy are removal of the reference to the North Perth Business and Service Directory. It was indicated that service clubs, organizations, or charitable groups shall not receive reduced fees for services and facilities such as rentals. This was stated in the 1998 policy that they can receive those. It's not currently the practice of North Perth to offer reduced rates. Language is included into the policies regarding the municipality acting as a qualified donee. This process has happened before in North Perth, but there hasn't been a policy in place to discuss how that has been handled previously. Those are the updates that I have for you. Happy to answer any questions about either policy.
All right, thank you, Ms. Carter. Excellent work that lies ahead of us here. Colleagues, questions, comments? Councillor Andreessen.
Thank you through you, Mayor Kiesenberg. Thank you. I'm so excited for this update. I think it's more reflective of us as a community, and I really appreciate your work with this, Ms. Carter. I do have one spelling error. I think it's on page 2. It's 4.1. The first bullet says signification milestones. It should be significant milestones, I think.
Yes, we can make that amendment.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Anyone else at this point? Okay, let's consider the resolution then as follows. That the Council of the Municipality of North Perth adopts the Council Recognition Policy 01-2024 dated April 15th, 2024. That the Council of the Municipality of North Perth adopts the Council Directed Donation Policy 02-2024 dated April 15th, 2024, and that the donations to and recognition of service clubs, nonprofit organizations, charitable groups, sports groups, and individual policy be rescinded. This is the previous one. Can I call for a mover? Moved by Councillor Andreessen, seconded by Councillor Nordum. Thank you. Any discussion or debate? Councillor Rothwell.
Thank you, Mayor Todd, and thank you for the report. Appreciate that. So just going on the first portion of the report, I believe that we had a challenge here in terms of recognition within our community of local organization and individuals that were recognized. So does this policy deal with that issue? I want to just come right out and just ask the question, did we deal with that same issue?
Yes, so the proposed policy clearly outlines when a certificate would be given out, when there would be service recognition, or when they would come to council and have an actual recognition ceremony. So it details the requirements for each of those 3 items.
Right, and just for my clear understanding in my mind, so in that circumstance, it would be a certificate issued by the mayor. Is that correct?
Correct.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else with questions or comments? All right, we have this duly moved and seconded. I'm not seeing any more hands waving at me, so let's have a vote. And that is carried. Thank you very much to the clerk's team. Thank you very much, as always. That brings us to item 10 on our agenda. For item 10, councillors, are there any reports you'd like to ask of staff or of our committees? Councillor Andreessen.
Yes, thank you through you, Mayor Kiesenberg. I just want to ask staff to do some preparation, perhaps of a report. With the Agricultural Excellence Strategy, we were appointing an Agricultural Economic Development Committee. And in the terms of reference for that committee, we had 1 councillor appointed. And I'm wondering if we can relook at that and perhaps staff come back around that, because we have a lot of other committees with 2 councillors, and I would like to see some coordination between the Economic Development Committee and the Agricultural Excellence Economic Development Committee, so that that liaison can be seamless, and those two committees can work in tandem, and not against each other, but work really well. So I'm wondering if staff could look into that and come back with additional information.
Okay. So moved, the staff be directed to prepare a report on the subject of council representation on the Agriculture and Agribusiness Advisory Committee. Hey, I got it right. And bring forward that report considering integration opportunities with the Economic Development Advisory Committee. They're typing frantically. Moved by Councillor Andreessen. Can I call for a seconder? Councillor Duncan, thank you. Any discussion or debate on this? Seeing none, if the clerk's table is caught up, let's have a vote.
Oh.
I'm in favor.
Okay. Councillor Richardson records a manual in favor vote.
My scribe just.
Councillor Andreessen records a manual in favor vote.
Mine also kicked me out.
Yeah, I got kicked out.
And Councillor Johnston? Opposed. Okay, so it's 6-4. That is carried. Thank you. All right, let's move. Any other report requests before we move to item 11 on our agenda? All right, this evening we have no additional items of correspondence outside that received in the consent agenda, so nothing further here. At this point, we turn to consideration of bylaws that have been recommended to us for action. Tonight we have for consideration a total of 5 bylaws. The enabling resolution outlines for each bylaw their number and purpose. Before I read the resolution for passing these bylaws, does any councillor wish to extract one or more of them for a more fulsome conversation or consideration or an individual recorded vote? Anyone? Okay, so I have the resolution then. The following bylaws are hereby passed. 25-2024 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 124-2021. 26-2024 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 44-2018. 31-2024 being a bylaw to authorize the signing a letter of agreement with His Majesty the King in right of Ontario as represented by the Minister of Transportation. 32-2024 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 6-ZB-1999 as amended. And 33-2024 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 147-2022. Can I call for a mover on this one? Councillor Rothwell, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Anstead. Any discussion or debate on this omnibus action? Seeing none, let's have a vote.
I'm in favor.
And Councillor Johnston records in favor, and with that vote, it is carried. Thank you. That brings us to item 13 on our agenda. Do any councillors wish leave to give notice of motion? Not seeing anything there. That turns us to item 14 on our agenda. For item 14, are there any announcements that would be of benefit to our community or that reflect well on North Perth at this time? I don't think we have any further connections on the web, so it's us in this chamber. Any announcements? Councillor Andreessen?
Yes, we're excited to announce that Flavors of North Perth is going to be hosted at the Listowel Agricultural Society on Sunday, and I believe the time frame's around 3 to 7, and we're looking forward to hosting different multicultural groups representing the areas where they're from and the foods that they celebrate. So, yeah.
Great, thank you. And it was a popular event last time. I believe there was a sellout, so those who are intending to go probably should have already made those plans.
Yes.
Indeed. All right. Any other announcements? CAO Snell, yeah, go ahead.
Just wanted to advise council that staff will be preparing an application for the Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund that is due this Friday. It has been, again, a fairly tight timeline to get an application together, and the criteria is to create new housing needing water or wastewater or storm sewer infrastructure. So we will be applying for part of the NEP Phase 2, which will support housing to the north part of Listowel, North Perth. So that will go in this Friday. But like usual, the fund's only $825 million, and we'll be asking for a significant share of that ourselves. So it probably will be oversubscribed.
A significant share of that ourselves. Good for you. All right, thank you. I do have an announcement about one of our own. So the Perth County Holstein Club recently held the Perth County Breeders' Cup and on-farm competition. There were 81 entries from 27 farms in the county. 4 classes were judged. In Class 2, second calf cows, first place, Mapleview Farms, Dave and Doug Johnston. In Class 3, third calf cows, first place, Mapleview Farms, also named Champion Cow. And I said to Councillor Johnston before this meeting, I want to meet those cows. So I'm going to go out to the farm and see. Maybe if the rest of you want to join me on that junket, you're welcome to do so. I don't know how Dave feels about that. But anyway, congratulations to Mapleview Farms for a significant achievement in our county. Okay, that brings us to item 15 on the agenda. We have 3 items to be considered in a closed session of council. I will now read the resolution that both explains and enables our action to enter closed session, reminding councillors that I have declared a stated pecuniary interest in one of those items. So as follows, the council proceeds in camera at 9:16 p.m. to address a matter pertaining to the following. First, a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board, which, if disclosed, could reasonably be expected to prejudice significantly the competitive position or interfere significantly with the contractual or other negotiations of a person, group of persons, or organizations regarding United Housing. Second, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose regarding the Soden municipal drain. And third, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board regarding Concession 1, Part Lot 37, Plan 194, PT Corporation Lots 17 and 18, RP 44R 4384, Part 1. This is the fun part of the mayor's job, is reading all those numbers. Can I call for a mover? Councillor Blazek, thank you, and seconded by Councillor Andreessen. Any discussion or debate on that? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. We are going to make some adjustments to the audiovisual in the chamber. Those who have been asked to stay should stay. That may depend on the order of the items that are covered in the closed session. So if you're not supposed to be here for the first item, then perhaps CAO Snell will ask you to leave. But otherwise, we invite those who are to stay. We're going to close the doors and change the AV. You want to come forward? Find all the buttons. We're good? All right, thank you. So for item 16 on our agenda, as we emerge from our closed session, I can confirm that the council did discuss the matters identified in our enabling resolution for a closed session meeting of council, in which I took part in 2 of the 3 items. And I am advised by my council colleagues that the 3rd item, same thing, the matters were discussed. Staff was given direction pertaining to those matters, the essence of which will remain confidential at this time for the reasons that were stipulated in our enablement resolution for closed session. We're getting near the end. The council, as a mandated good practice, acts near the end of its meeting to confirm all of its actions and business of its meeting through what is called the confirmatory bylaw. For this one, a whole bunch of us have to step out. So, Councillor Duncan, we're going to call on you to take this one as well. Let me just turn your microphone on. That would be useful, right? And a whole bunch of us will walk out.
Okay, I've got bylaw 34, 2024, being a bylaw to confirm generally previous actions of the council of the municipality of North Perth is hereby passed. Moved by Councillor Johnson, second by Councillor Rothwell. All those in favor? Oh, I guess, am I supposed to? Are we going to vote that way? And that's carried. Get out of your road there.
All right. So special thanks to Councillor Duncan for taking on a couple of roles tonight, and to Deputy Mayor Callum for taking on a role as well. I appreciate their support and chairing parts of the meeting, which I should not be involved with. So we've finished the confirmatory bylaw. The good news is we could adjourn, and I have a resolution to that effect. Let me just pull it here. The council meeting adjourns at 10:46 p.m. To meet again for general council business on Monday, May 6th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Can I call for mover, Councillor Anstead and Councillor Richardson? It's not debatable. We should have that vote. And that is carried. We are next meeting on Monday, May 6th. Until that time, this council is adjourned.